In this video, I'll show you what it takes to get 99 parses in BWL as a Frost Mage. Before I start, I want to tell you guys that I started a level 1 to 60 speed grind. The entire journey is going to be boosted by me, and I'm currently at level 16 with 1 hour and 20 minutes of playtime. I also want to tell you guys that I got my hands on a second T-Boost Blazing Longsword, and if we hit 6k subscribers within 2 weeks, I'll make a server-wide event, an event which you guys will get to suggest, maybe a foot race or something like that, and I'll give away the T-Boost to the winner of that event. So if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. The first and most important thing you'll need are world buffs. This is what separates you from the average player. There are a ton of world buffs you can get, and this page has pretty much all the information you'll ever need on world buffs. I'll put a link in the description. And this is also the golden week of world buffs. For the first time in Classic, you get to stack Hakar buff and Darkmoon Fair buff together. So a lot of speedruns and DPS records are going to be beaten this week. Second thing you'll need are consumables, and this is where all your gold farming money comes to play. Get all the consumables you'll need as a mage. GFPP, Greater Arcane Elixir, Frost Power, Lips, Mana Pots, Food Buff, Rum Buff, everything. You'll need everything if you wanna actually parse 99 consistently. I also highly recommend getting a flask, because if you do, not only will you do more damage, but you'll also be the preferred target for power infusion in the raid. The third thing you need is a decent gear. You do not need to be best in slot, somewhere between best in slot and pre-best in slot is perfectly fine, but don't expect to parse 99 with all greens. The fourth and final requirement is a good raid composition. You want to have a Winter's Chill mage in the raid, so you have an extra 10% chance to crit on the bosses. You want to have a Warlock casting Curse of Elements on the boss so you do 10% more damage. You want to have a Disc Priest casting Power Infusion on you. And you want someone in the group to wield the Nightfall for 15% more damage for 5 seconds, which has a 10.5% uptime, I believe. For the first boss, make sure to cast Amplify Magic on the boss when he is mind controlled for added damage. This is why you should also have the Magic Attunement talent. Other than that, since this is going to be a very short fight, you want to start by blowing all your cooldowns on the boss at the beginning. For Veil, you want to pre-pot a GFPP and use a Fire Ward before the fight starts. You want to use a second GFPP after your first one depletes, so that we get to prevent pushback on our Frostbolt casts and we can pump out as much as we can. Also, having 83 fire resist buff from mind controlling the spellbinders from Ubers also helps in this fight. For Broodlord, you want to start by blinking to your spot and start DPSing the boss as soon as possible, but don't pop your cooldowns yet. Pop your cooldowns after your 5th or 6th Frostbolt. That way you gave your Winter's Chill mage time to put up 5 stacks of Winter's Chill, so you'll have 10% more chance of critting with your arcane power active. Also, if you have engineering, use Sapper charges on the whelps. Since whelp damage don't count towards the parse, it's best not to use a global cooldown. Same thing you did with Veil. Pre-pot a GFPP before the fight starts, so you can use a second one in the middle of the fight. How long you can stay in line of sight of the boss depends on your fire resist. I always pre-pot and take the 85 fire resist buff from Ubers, so I can easily tank up to 9 stacks. This allows me to do more Frostbolts because I get to tank more stacks and I get to stay in the fight longer. Also, I recommend popping all your cooldowns at the start because the arcane power lasts for 15 seconds, and you want to make sure you're using every one of those seconds. And if you're thinking about using fire resist gear, you can, but remember that also reduces your damage done, so overall it balances out. For Ebonroc and Flamegore, all you have to do is DPS and pop your cooldowns after the 5th or 6th Frostbolt. You're going to do this because of the 10% extra crit like I mentioned earlier. The only difference you might see is with Flamegore. If the hunters are not doing their trank shots properly, Flamegore will cast an AoE fire spell which will push back your Frostbolt casting time. So if you want to be safe, I recommend using a Fire Pot or a GFPP for Flamegore. For Chromaggus, I have a recaller that'll tell you which spell the boss is vulnerable to after you cast Detect Magic on it. After that, you only want to use the spell that the boss is weak to. Here you see as soon as the boss was weak to frost damage, I went all out and popped a lip so that I do not pull threat. If the boss has nature or shadow weakness, you want to switch to your nature or shadow wand and start wanding. Also, you want to carry some Hourglass Sands in case you get Bronze Affliction. I always buy some from the auction house and bring them with me. Some days, if you're unlucky, Chromag will only have shadow and nature weakness and you won't be able to do any damage at all, no matter how hard you try. and that's okay. For Nefarian, I recommend you kill all the ads at the center of the room like you see in the video here. When the boss comes down, just casually DPS the boss. Don't use a potion and don't use any cooldowns. Just use frostbolts. And wait till 20%. When the boss is about to hit 20%, pop all your cooldowns and pop a lip. As soon as you see the skeletons come back to life, you spam Goblin Sapper Charge and Arcane Explosion at the same time. In this 0.1 second, you will have done 65,000 damage. If you don't have sappers, you can get the holy water from Stratholme. Once you have brought down all the ads, just finish off the boss. That's all I have for the video. Some or most of you may have already known these strategies, but I thought I might as well put this video out anyway. These methods also apply to bosses outside BWL. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I have a ton more video coming up soon. And also join the Discord and follow me on Twitch if you want to keep up with my level 1 to 60 journey in under 2 days. Peace.